welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for June 4th, 2012. Tonight we do have a light agenda on. We have one matter that's going to be requested for continuance. Let me read that into the record if we could, please. This is for a special permit at 619 Lakeview Ave. The Lowell Planning Board approval of an application by Manuel Severia et al. Seeking a special permit to reduce required frontage from 70 feet to 60 feet at 619 Lakeview Ave. Was at the May 21st, 2012 meeting of the board. As a condition, the board will review the applicant revised site plan and elevations in more detail for the final approval. I believe at the last meeting we requested by the applicant if he could come in and show us different ways to work with the driveway layout. We asked him if 2 weeks would be enough time to continue it over to tonight's meeting. I believe we received communication that they requested an additional two weeks for more time to work with.
That's correct. Yeah, today we received an email from Attorney Flood requesting an additional 2 weeks. We have been working with the applicant quite a bit the last couple of days, starting Thursday. First, working with the site, and I think we've come up with a pretty decent solution for the circulation and getting the parking there and preserving as much on-site parking as possible, while also moving the curb cut on Carolyn Street so that it's not aligned right into the center of that intersection. So that's been largely solved. We still have plans for the yet. And then we've had conversations with the architect a couple times. So they have a kind of very rough sketch for an elevation, but they need to finalize that and submit that. So that's really the crux of the request. And I also think they were hoping to have at least 4 board members too.
So the request is a continuation of a 2-week meeting. Anybody want to make a motion in that favor? Or?
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we continue the special permit for 619 Lakeview Avenue until June 18th.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion is made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. The motion carries. 3 in favor, none against. Also on our schedule tonight, we have a comprehensive master plan update. Department of Planning and Development staff will present an update to the planning board on the master plan process, including the findings of a public opinion survey and outreach process, along with the existing conditions analyst. Staff will also provide an update and anticipate next steps to move toward completing the master plan update. I know Aaron and I had a conversation today that 2 of our board members would be unavailable today, so maybe we discussed possibility of continue it to a future date where we get more input from the other board members. Aaron did speak with people on staff, and that was agreeable to them. And I think they have a definitive date yet, or not? We're going to do a future date?
We haven't locked into a date, and one of the things I did want to talk about since our last conversation, Chairman, was that the next meeting on June 18th is also the same evening that the Tanner Street has a public meeting for the Tanner Street Initiative.
Okay.
I missed the last meeting and I haven't.
Yeah, so that, I believe goes from like 6 to 8:30. So I don't know if we want to schedule this presentation for the 18th, maybe give board member Lockhart a chance to skip over to the initiative if possible, because the only thing that would be on the 18th would be the 619 Lakeview at this point.
Which we just continued.
That we just continued. We're anxious to present the information so that you have it, but from a timeline perspective, as far as the completion of the master plan update, there's some time. We're not really going to begin the second round of public outreach until after summer, because if we do it now, everybody's on vacation, and we don't want people to miss it because they're not going to be around. So it's if we either set a special meeting July or just have it on the one meeting we have in July, I think that will be fine and give the board plenty of time to bring it in, soak it in, all the information, and be able to provide input as we move forward with the master plan update itself.
How long a presentation do you anticipate it is? 45 minutes, like that?
It depends on how fast we talk. It probably about an hour is 45 minutes to an hour for the presentation itself, and if there's some time for questions.
Right. So maybe an hour-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a terribly long presentation. It's a lot of information, but it's not terribly long.
Matter of fact, I was thinking of Tanner Street when I was reading the package today about the Tanner Street site and Rich's involvement, and I'm thinking, I think of how that was going.
Interesting.
Right.
discussed that. The proposal is to drop the Lowell connector into the ground. Right?
Yeah,
More of a,
that's correct. One of the ideas that
One of
came
the
that came out of it was and that was past Plain Street to bring it back down to grade and then bring it back up at the railroad to get over the railroad crossing. If I remember this correctly, Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, but there'd be provide for better access, potential access to Tanner Street and that sort of thing. I don't, yeah. Yeah, that's about the extent of my knowledge of that element, but it's one of the ideas that's been certainly floated for that, yeah.
So you have a meeting on the Tanner Street that night?
apparently, yeah.
On the
I didn't know
18th, yeah.
about
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's been massive outreach yet. I think it's just been, yeah. There will be soon, yeah, it's scheduled right now for the 18th. And I'm probably wrong on the time, but I'm at 6 to 8:30 p.m. It's in that range.
That's something you'd want to be at?
Well, I don't, it depends on
I'm just
the importance. of
thinking if
what's
he's
here.
going to be at that, I know Jerry mentioned he had something on that night, but he's going to obviously try to be here. So I'm thinking if we could even change our planning board night to maybe some other night during that week, and even if we have to have it across the hall, so be it, because if it's just really going to be Lakeview Ave,
Yeah.
nothing else on,
Yes,
you
that's
know,
it. Yeah, that's a possibility.
it'd be a short meeting, and we then do the presentation some other night. And if you have anything that's come in already to be advertised, I know Rich wants to be on the Tanner Street. I know Jerry said he had commitment, but obviously his
Yeah.
commitment lies with us, which is,
Yeah, we could certainly do that. I mean, it's just one of the things where we just need to advertise the meeting as a public
Yeah.
meeting,
So maybe we
48
could,
hours, so we can work with all the board members to figure out a time and day, and then just give ourselves enough time to
what we
advertise
could
it.
do is, consider what's available for us three tonight, and then tonight to email to the other two board members
Yeah,
tomorrow,
just say that.
whether you want to do it Tuesday or Wednesday night. I mean, whether it's down the hall, I mean, the other one was already a public hearing, which we did,
Yeah,
for 619 Lakeview Ave. It'd just be a matter of it's coming back at a request for us for updated plans, so.
Yeah.
If we want to digest and think that over and communicate tomorrow maybe, but maybe if Tuesday or Wednesday maybe would work that week, and we can just meet down the hall
I'd have to look.
Yeah.
of that same week?
the same week.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I can figure
I know
out.
council chambers would be Tuesday night, Wednesday night's
Yeah.
usually school committee, but I know they're on a different schedule now too, right?
They are. I don't know it though.
Yeah.
They are on a different, but I mean, we could certainly set something
We
up.
can communicate that tomorrow maybe, we'll talk to you
Yep.
and do an email maybe.
Yeah.
See what works for
Absolutely.
everybody, once we check our daily calendars and
Yep.
see the availability, because I know the city council and the school committee members, meetings are a little less frequent, starting in June,
No, the rest of that week would work out well.
so tentatively, Rich, would that seem to work for you, then we can check with the other board members?
Yeah, let's just.
Okay, that way you
see
can,
what we work out.
you can go to the Tanner Street meeting as well?
Flexible with it.
Yeah.
I'd like to, but
When you're on other boards with the city and be this one, it's tough to make all the meetings, but.
And to clarify, you're talking about is rescheduling the meeting from the 18th of that week to a different day in the same week, or are you talking about a
Same week.
special meeting?
Same week,
Same, okay,
yeah.
So-
Just either maybe Tuesday, Wednesday of that week,
okay,
a night or two later.
yep. And that would include the 619 Lakeview item?
Right.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure I have that.
So the main thing, we have the 619, so what we can do is we can check with that tomorrow, and then we can speak with, and then if we have to, we could speak with the applicant on 619. I think, basically, if they're asking for 2 weeks, if we do an extra 1 or 2 nights, I don't think that's gonna be detrimental to them,
Right, right.
And then we can touch base with them and see what's available for them too, once we have a little more communication tomorrow, which works.
Yep.
Because I think I'm available both nights, but I can double check as well when I get home tonight. Okay?
We can do that.
Yeah, so then, because that would be the only thing basically we'd have on, right, would be Lakeview Ave, because the master plan, we're gonna probably put over till later, right?
That's it, yeah, those are the only two
So the
items.
619 Lakeview would be a brief meeting.
Yep.
Okay. And like I say, if need be, if, at 618, if we need a vote to change that, I can, reach the board members for administrative vote on that, to reschedule and request of the applicant, request of us. So they've requested one reschedule, we request one, so if it's a day or two, that works for them,
Right,
okay? So we
just to
touch
post the
base.
notice, yeah.
Yeah, so if we take to the other board members tomorrow, give us time, and hopefully we can finalize it by Wednesday, which gives everybody 2 week
Plenty of time.
notice.
Yeah, plenty of time.
All right?
Yeah.
All right, So moving along, we have the update on the comprehensive plan. We do have some notices in budding towns. Request we place those on file.
So moved?
Second?
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye. Approved. We do have some A&R reports. We have those in our packet. Anybody have any questions on those? Basically, it's just the one.
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman, I guess directed to Aaron. Just trying to understand the second paragraph under the Perry Street, 117, 125 Perry Street. It references the last sentence, a 10-foot easement is present on either side of the new property line in order to provide passage rights to each lot to pass. I'm just, that doesn't conflict with the A&R, or is that?
No, unfortunately, well, I should say unfortunately, but no, it doesn't. I'll show you the plan right here. It's an access easement essentially for the two, for a shared drive. And as long as they have the frontage it's a frontage on a public way, and there's adequate access, it's eligible under the A&R.
Under
But I
the
can
A&R.
show you if you want to just.
Yeah,
get a
if I
better look
could,
at it.
please,
Yeah.
yeah.
Want to bring it up?
Yeah.
Now, are these residential homes, or these, I noticed some commercial on Perry? Huh?
Commercial.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I know the area, and I'm like, I know some of them are residential, some are, I think you have some auto body there, depending on what part of the street they're in.
Yeah,
You've
they're-
done a
they're,
walk on some part of the street.
I think they're both auto use,
Okay.
auto-oriented uses.
And under the A&R, that's acceptable to utilize that, okay.
Yeah.
Down towards this end of it then, okay, yeah.
And that's defined by the state statute anyway, so.
Yeah, that's at section 91. Something.
It's unusual, we haven't seen one come through like that in a while with the easement.
Yeah, that one's pretty, I mean, both of them have quite a bit of frontage, but where they actually share the drive, it's probably the one single access drive to them right now is a single unit. Yeah, as long as there's frontage on a way and there's nothing blocking the access or causing, a challenge to access, like a very steep slope or something like that,
Yep.
in effect, really eliminates any ability to get to the site from the street. Should be fine.
Yeah, must be, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we need a motion just for the, place those, the A&R report on file, or is it just for informational purposes only?
It's for information. It's on file. It's available if the board wants to review them, but, yeah. for information.
Okay, here's the plan back. So, ZBA notices, we do have one matter on this evening to review, which is Dennis Scannell, trustee of 41 Tanner Street Realty Trust of 50 Tanner Street, Lowell, Mass. This is in the zoning zone. It is a light industrial. The present use of the property is commercial industrial, and the purpose is for a billboard. Same plans previously filed back in April 24th, 2012. There's been some history on here. Obviously, they laid it out pretty good in the pack. It looked like it had been approved by the city council and it's been approved by the ZBA, and I remember it came before us at one point in time. Then it looks like they did a little land swap after the case with the court with one of the abutters, and then they went to mediation, and then after mediation, there was a recommendation what they complied with, so then they sell off one piece of land, they keep the other piece of land, so now they're coming back to request that the billboard be approved, which was approved way back, but was just basically an adjacent piece of land, so it meet the RFP that was sent out by the city to sell the property. Now, I take it on the billboards, do you have a design planner as well, looks at those as well as we do for the for the smaller signs, I imagine?
They do, yep, and we do have some draft comments that are still under, construction, which could say, that the general crux of what our comments are, they're more kind of department-wide comments with respect to billboards. We've been kind of trying to address these as they've been permitted in the last couple of years. And the department has had a number of issues and concerns raised by the fact that we have more and more billboards being proposed and built, and the type of technology that's being included with them, particularly the LED digital signs. I think this the 41 Mile Road is the most recent. Primarily our concerns are around first safety with the safety impacts of the digital signs. I don't know if you've noticed riding up and down 495 or Route 3, now you can see them and they are a little bit more distracting. The other element to that is kind of an aesthetic impact. Whereas before you did have a billboard, it was kind of static, it wasn't moving. Now there are huge LED signs that can change frequently, that have, there's a lot of flexibility, but it's hard to know what is the control on things like the brightness of the illumination, how quickly the advertisements change, the frequency of their changeover. And so what does that mean in terms of neighborhood impacts on the surrounding neighborhoods? There's safety aspect for drivers, but there's also the aesthetic impact. It is in the general industrial zoning districts off Tanner Street, which is typically the right place, but it's also 139 feet tall. It's a very tall structure. So some of the things that we've just, as far as an application, asked for, or recommended that the ZBA look into is first do a balloon test and kind of a photo simulation that you would do similarly to a cell tower, to get an idea of where and how far you can see the billboard into the neighborhoods. Is it something that really is going to have an impact? It's hard to tell unless we can actually see that. And then get a lot more detail that you may not have found in the packages. There's not only a lot of detail on, the frequency of the changeover and the promotions, on how bright it will be, how do they manage that from the day into the evening, because it obviously changes, and a lot of those kinds of things. Also, what we're looking for, less from a design perspective, but more as an impact, economic development impact, and impact on neighborhoods. What is the value? What is the true value? What is the economic potential that is being brought by the billboard? This is one of the reasons that the applicant's saying that it's a benefit to the city, and we're looking for some quantification of that.
Because you compare it to like the cell tower test with the balloon. Obviously, the cell tower, you want to blend in with the neighborhood, hide it between the trees, design it to a certain way. Obviously, a billboard, you want the opposite. You want to attract people, the lighting, the flashing, to get all the attention it needs.
Yeah. Each sign faces over 600 square feet.
Yeah.
At the bottom point of the sign is 125 feet in the air.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, it's the opposite of a cell tower in that sense.
When you do that balloon test, you're looking at something that's like this, but something that's flashing, pulling your attention, so you can look at it and say, well, it might blend in if you don't see it moving and flashing. I go by it, I might not catch it, but when it's flashing and lit up like that, it catches people's attention. Actually, they're doing a study now why so many cars ran state troopers on the highway with the flashing lights, and they're saying that they're drawn to the lights. The people are subconsciously are drawn to those lights. That's why more police cars are hit at night in the breakdown lanes, because subconsciously they go to the lights.
So it's supposed to do the opposite, but it's
Supposed to do the opposite. Now they're reviewing the studies on it.
you haven't heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, because they're saying how many times troopers in the breakdown lane they keep getting hit. They say why? So now look at the but getting off that, on a billboard, would that be something on your checklist for your green criteria as well?
For the
is there any type of green aspects to putting up the billboard?
well,
like
LEDs.
solar, LED, whatever?
It is an LED board, and LEDs they use a lot less energy. However, because they're so big,
Yeah.
we did look into some research into this a while back, and so I'm a little rusty on it, but I think it's something like 40,000 kilowatt hours a month or something, or a day. It's a large number. I didn't really pull it out for the comments at this point, But, you know, the technology itself in, you know, in a small increment is low. But because they're so big, they
Massive,
really
right?
do
Put it all
create a
together,
lot of,
sure.
they do utilize a lot of energy, actually.
Aaron, is there any associated equipment that would have to be mounted on the ground anywhere? Something of that size, I don't understand the technology, but, and if so, is a site plan required? I mean,
They did
Look at
submit a
cell
site plan.
site plan,
There's a site plan, and I don't know if the board received the plan itself, but it's 41 Tanner Street basically runs, it's got frontage on Tanner Street, and then it butts right on River Meadow Brook. The sign is, the billboard is proposed right close to the River Meadow Brook. There's an existing building there that is gonna block a lot of the base of the sign from the street. So the ground level impacts are gonna be relatively small in terms of equipment. There isn't really,
They're probably just gonna get blown down at some point.
well, there's certainly no equipment on it, but there is a huge concrete pad that is a part of it.
To hold it down.
Whether, yeah, to hold it
Have
down.
electrical to light it, right?
Pardon me?
You need some electrical, obviously, for source of
Yes,
energy to light
yeah,
it.
there is a line, yeah, there is
Or like a
there's
box or
utility.
something of
Yeah.
some nature with,
There might be something there.
whether it has to be screened or whatever you guys
Right.
requested in those matters.
Yeah, but it's not as much equipment that you would see, again, comparing to the cell tower, it's not as much because,
Because you wouldn't have too much service on it, but I imagine those bulbs at times burn out too, right?
the what?
I mean, for service-wise, I'm sure you only, you have to service it once in a while. I mean, I'm sure no matter what type of bulbs you have to,
Need access. and
you have to,
space and all the rest of it.
replace those bulbs. I mean,
Yes.
now when you go by the highways and they have those big lights now, they don't go up anymore. Those big lights all come down.
No, I didn't know that.
Those wire ones, so I mean, I'm just curious how they service
This has a
changing
ladder.
those lights.
Yeah, it does have a ladder on the side, so they'd have to climb
Oh,
up
by
and,
ladder, huh?
yeah, and serve it that way, service that way.
It's a lot of bulbs.
It's not a reticulating billboard yet, that'd be interesting to see that, but,
Yeah, because you figure for that size, that's a lot of bulbs.
so, there's not a lot in terms of just, of design and screening recommendations that we have, because it's so big.
Right.
There's not a lot to do with it. I think it's more about the trade-offs and benefits, and impacts.
So would our design planner have the recommendation in written form by the ZBA meeting?
Yes, we hope to have it ready tomorrow.
Okay. So it'd be so we could make a motion that, to go along with as the comments as you indicated to us, the ZBA, for the design planner's recommendations to the ZBA?
Yeah, if the board wishes, that
I'll
would be
put
fine.
that in the form of a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Okay. We'll move along on that. Any other further general correspondences, either from, I'll start with the board members from the other boards that they sit on. Anything, any updates? I'll start with you, Mr. Fischett, if you don't mind.
I don't have any updates, but I will tell you that the committee has been formed, and I think I mentioned this at a prior meeting, for the Wood Street Rock Bridge Corridor Study. And a firm was hired to begin the study. And I did speak to Beverly Woods, and we should be having a meeting shortly regarding the collection of data that has taken place to date. And I think obviously that's going to have a huge impact on development in that particular corridor, and obviously be providing updates to the committee. I think everybody will be interested to see the results of that.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rich, any updates from the historic board or any?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. We did have our elections at our last meeting. I will be chairing that for another year.
Congratulations.
And we have passed some more stringent demolition by neglect standards. I'll have more detail on as time goes by, but I think it's a good positive step to protect some historical properties in the city.
Okay. Aaron, anything from Division of Planning and Development?
There's not a lot at the moment. We haven't received any additional applications to the planning board. I expect we might be seeing one in the relatively near future for Nottingham Street. We've just had an informal kind of review of what might be happening out there, and it's there's an existing what do they do? That they are a training facility for HVAC professionals. I think they're already located in the Nottingham Street kind of industrial area there, or commercial area. So they're looking at expanding, so that's something that might require site plan review based on some preliminary discussions. And there is a restaurant that I believe that is looking at the area as well. And it's all going to be based on the parking area. They're not large buildings. It sounds like between 8,000 and 9,000 for the HVAC training facility.
Have you heard back, any chance yet, when we had the preliminary subdivision a few weeks back, I think it was on Trotting Park Road?
Not
Have you
yet.
come back for the final subdivision yet? We've inquired to a date, no? Okay.
No, there hasn't been a date yet, no.
Okay.
I think they're taking back the feedback and trying to decide
I
what's
think we
next.
imagine we'll be seeing that in the near future. If they come in with the preliminary subdivision, so I figured they'd be coming back with the definitive.
Yeah, usually it is, right. Usually it's fairly quick,
Okay.
a quick turnaround, but I think they wanted to make sure that they addressed any concerns.
Any other further comments? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Good night, and thank you, everyone.